Welcome back to episode 5 of the World Conquest speedrun, where we're going to be conquering all of Calradia as Frederick the Great. In the previous episode, we stabilized our first conquest, the town of Lycaron, started our kingdom, enacted our first 5 policies, and expanded our empire by taking the castle of Thorios. In this episode, we will be focusing on defending our gains, enacting more of our top 10 policies, and looking for more opportunities to expand if possible. Right now, we are being besieged by a force nearly double in size and higher quality troops. We have 3 ballista that will aid us here, which will come in handy. Fortunately, the enemy decided to walk slowly in shield wall formation right through the shooting arc of our ballista, so we lob a few bolts in their direction, taking up to 4 troops per shot at times. I find it inefficient to shoot at individual troops with the ballista, so once the large slow mass of shielded troops is passed, we switch to our bow. The troops escorting the ram are fairly well protected with shields out, so we switch to the right side and take shots at troops scaling the ladders. They heavily outnumber our troops on this side, so we thin them out as they approach. We pick off 2 enemy nobles off the ladder, which will damage their troops' morale significantly. The battering ram breached the gates, so it would be wise to keep an eye on our main entrance to ensure we aren't being overrun. It doesn't seem that they are pushing hard, so we stop to admire the scenery and take some pot shots at high-tier troops. It appears as though they've given up on the main entrance, so we run to our left to check in. It seems as though we have this one in the bag, but at this point in the campaign, every soldier counts for us, so we do our best to minimize our casualties by ending the fight as quickly as we can. We run out of arrows and must find a barrel to replenish, but take a moment to bonk a few attackers with Satan's Tooth. At this point in the battle, the enemy range units are pushing the ladders, which means they are quickly running out of troops. We lose 45 troops from our castle itself and just under 100 from our main army, but destroy an army of over 700 troops for a ratio of over 4.5 to 1 KDR. We pick up another 35 influence, which will come in handy for declaring peace or enacting the next policy. We continue to let each captured noble free after battle in order to pick up some serious XP gain. We are at our own castle, so we can take as many prisoners as we want and drop the excess in the dungeon. For level 125 athletics, we take Surging Blow, since we can better use the extra damage boost over the charge damage reduction. Level 150 charm perk are both for a governor, so the pick is irrelevant unfortunately. Our castle is now in the green across the board, and we just need a little time to pass for things to improve further. While out on a mission to recruit up to our party limit, we spot a huge army of nearly 800, but it seems their attention is elsewhere for now, but we must stay vigilant because they can change course at any moment. For our next policy, we take cantons. This will increase the militia production in our fiefs and speed up troop replenishment replenishment by 20%, allowing us to recruit more frequently from our small kingdom. A few days later, we are out recruiting more troops from our villages when we get declared on by a second faction. Double the fun. It appears our simping wasn't enough to appease Regea, so we are now at war with the Southern Empire. Looking at the peace deals, it would cost us 830 dinars per day for peace with the north and 1660 per day with the south. While we do have plenty of money, we aren't looking to throw it away for free, so we hold off for a better peace deal. One of the great things about being at war with a neighbor is that our recruiting speed increases significantly. We go from village to village and force the locals to give us recruits, which often results in anywhere from 4 to 10 troops for free each time. Because we are constantly in an army, we reach leadership level 75 quickly and take authority perk for an extra 5 party size limit. Thorios Castle is under siege again, so we rush to relieve the garrison. We outnumber them by about 75 troops, but their troop quality is significantly higher, resulting in an even balance of power. This won't be a difficult battle, but again, our main goal here is to preserve our troops. It's difficult to take time recruiting troops when you're at war with savages who siege you down every other day. And since we are so heavily outnumbered for total kingdom troops, we will not win a long war of attrition. The enemy is taking a defensive position across the river, so we have our cavalry archers follow us to counter-harass the enemy cavalry archers.
Forward! Riders! Let's move! Not move!
We spend a few minutes pouring arrows and bolts into their ranks. After we inflict several casualties, the enemy decides to push their foot troops forward. Unfortunately for them, they get bogged down in the river and take heavy casualties before even reaching our line.
Move! Infantry, move! Soldiers! Archers! Forward! Forward! Move! Move!
The enemy cavalry pushes in from our left, but we take very few losses. Their main line finally reaches ours, and there isn't much to adjust here. Our troops are doing well, and our positions are good, so we let the fight play out. We catch a spear to the face, but our troops finish the fight strong. We have heavier losses than expected, but most likely due to having lower tier troops. At this point, we are only taking tier 4 troops and up for prisoners. We will be at war so much that we will have more prisoners than we can convert, so might as well only take the high tier ones. We catch an enemy noble who shamelessly fled the battle before it was over, leaving their comrades behind. This could be a good opportunity to recruit our first clan into our kingdom. We must speak to the clan leader in order to start the dialogue, and for Empire clans, the Archon tag signifies they are the leader of the clan. We start things off right with a critical success, meaning we have 3 chances to get 2 more chat checks passes. The next check has a 49% chance of success, but we fumble and get a critical fail, which means there's no more chance to recruit them into our kingdom. So instead, we destroy his party of 4 and release him to gain more relationship. A couple days later, we decide to reach a peace deal with both kingdoms. To the Northern Empire, we pay 320 per day, and to the Southern Empire, 1620. While this is very expensive, it's something we can afford easily, and we need a little break to build our troops back to capacity. We spend a week's time recruiting more troops and stabilizing our fiefs further. The Northern Empire decided they would like their fief back, so they declare war and try to siege down Thorios Castle once more. It doesn't take long for them to realize it's a terrible idea and break off. While we've had enough influence to pass a policy for a while, we decided to save up enough to declare a peace deal if need be. If we spend everything we have and get declared on and can't defend, we will lose our fiefs, so we take a more conservative route instead. For our 7th policy, we take Royal Guards, which will give us an extra 60 troops. These troops are incredibly important as we are increasingly becoming a target by our neighbors. While on our way to Amitatis, we come across an enemy party of 84. We aren't in a position to catch them just by running at them, but if we use the geography to our advantage, we can easily block their escape and slowly close the distance. Using the arrow keys helps in situations like these when precision is important. We reached level 100 leadership and decide to take loyalty and honor. The biggest reason here is the 30% increased prisoner conversion rate. Our army will need to be replenished by prisoners for the early stages of our kingdom, since we will only have a couple villages to recruit from. The ignoring retreat from low morale is a nice benefit as well. We don't need the renown gain from the other perk, since we already are at clan tier 4 and have artisan community as well. Very quickly, we have swelled our ranks to over 500 troops. We spot an enemy army that we could easily handle now, but after further thought and inspecting their troops, we decide to avoid the engagement. We either need to take easy fights with minimal casualties, or a siege that will result in us taking more fiefs. We don't need to take costly field battles with an even balance of power, since we will lose a war of attrition based on numbers alone in the long run. Patience has paid off. 4 days later, that army we were following gets tangled up with the Western Empire in a huge battle. We could get involved right now and help them out, but instead we let them both slug it out. We want the Western Empire to lose troops as well, since this makes them less likely to declare war on us. Also, it's best to not compete with another army for capturing nobles and releasing them post-battle, so we let them fight it out. The Western Empire are outnumbered and falling quickly. The instant the battle is over, we engage them to make sure they don't recover their wounded troops. We outnumber them more than 2 to 1, so the battle should be trivial. As usual, it's a good idea to skirmish with their cavalry archers and harass their shock cavalry. Once they are sufficiently harassed, their main line will have no choice but to charge into our main line. The melee doesn't last long and we quickly clean them up for a relatively smooth victory. We lose 76 troops in the battle, but looking closer we see more than 50% of our losses were recruits, which is totally acceptable. Battles like these are great for charm and relationship farming since there were a ton of enemy nobles captured. It's also prudent to fight an enemy that just took a bunch of prisoners, because once defeated, those prisoners will join our side for free if we choose. In this case, we pick up 247 troops for free, many of which are mid to high tier. We can't hold this many troops in our army, so we take everything, then replace the lower tier troops in our party as well as each of our companions' parties. Not only did we wipe out 2 kingdoms' armies from the map, but we upgraded the quality of our army significantly. At this point, influence is stacking up quickly and we can enact our 8th, 9th, and 10th policy and still have enough influence to sue for peace if need be. First, we take magistrates for the increase to town security, which will help us reach 100 loyalty. Next, we take citizenship, which gives both a 0.5 loyalty gain and militia increase. For the loyalty portion, the settlement needs to be of the same culture as the owner clan, which is not a problem since we are sticking to empire fiefs to start. We finish off with tribunes of the people, which will raise town loyalty by +1 per day. Not only will these policies help reach 100 loyalty for now, but in the future, when we expand outside of the empire fiefs, it will prevent rebellions when taking non-empire fiefs. Checking in on Thorio's castle, we see that the loyalty is at 89 and still gaining 1.89 per day, all but guaranteeing that we will hit +100 soon. Notice the juicy bonuses we gain to tax collection and construction for having a high loyalty. It really makes a big difference. While on a mission to visit our villages to the north, we come across this situation. It appears as though an army is forming to our north, which is drawing all of the smaller groups from the south behind us. We decide to double back over the bridge once more in order to try and defeat those 2 masses of groups separately. If we allow them to link up, we will be fighting over 800 troops at once, which is not ideal. There is a central choke point that we want to control, which would force the enemy into a tight column and allowing us to have local superiority where the clash happens. It also prevents an easy retreat for the enemy since they have to run back through their own lines, which are pushing to get to the front. Unfortunately, they are already over the bridge and onto our side, but they are still in a tough spot since their archers will have to bunch up on the bridge and won't be as effective as ours. Their army is still somewhat staggered due to the bridge crossing, so we take the most prudent action: charge before they form a solid line. Our front line seems to be struggling some, so we dismount and do what any great commander has done throughout time: join their men on the front line. The primary goal here is to re-establish our front shield wall as soon as possible, allowing our archers to continue to rain arrows on the enemy crossing the bridge to reinforce. We remount our horse and take stock of the situation in our back line of cavalry. It seems the majority of the enemy cavalry are dealt with at this point, so we turn our focus back to the front lines. Once again, the enemy is streaming across the bridge, and we dismount in order to effectively support our front line. We take significant casualties and decide to pull back and reform our shield wall a short distance from the enemy's line. This will give us a chance to gather more melee troops and allow our archers to put some good work in.
Forward! Forward! Forward!
The casualty feed turns into a sea of green, and our archers are making us proud. The enemy line crumbles under the pressure, and we call for a general charge across all of our groups. The final results are acceptable this time, as we defeated an army of over 500 troops and lose only 79 in the process. Let's take a quick moment to see which troops are pulling their weight. The legionary infantry amass an impressive 50 casualties inflicted with only 24 troops to start with. Our crossbows also pull an impressive 42 casualties with only a single loss. Our Bucalarii and Khan's score 10 casualties each without a single loss. Overall, our troop composition is working well, and I see no need to change the formula for now, but it's always a good idea to check in once in a while so that adjustments can be made moving forward. We have reached level 180 charm and can pick the 175 perk. We must decide between plus 20 for our own personal actions or a plus 10 for all party member actions. Our plan is to have 4 companion parties in the field beside us, so we decide to go with Pro Familia. If our main party ends up with 1/5 of the influence gained from battle and our companion parties end up with 4/5, then it's quite clear that a 10% increase to 4/5 is much greater than a 20% increase to 1/5. After the battle, we clean up the stragglers and head towards the main objective, the siege of Amitatis. We outnumber the defenders slightly, but more importantly, we have the troop quality advantage. We barely finish the siege camp preparations when the enemy begins pouring in reinforcements into the area to defend their homelands. The other half of the enemy's army returns, and we have a decision to make. Do we assault without siege engines, or take an open battle to buy more time for siege preparations?